Hello traders, it is Wednesday, July 17th, and as promised I am doing a live recording 30 minutes into trading. So we're going to see if we can find some opportunities. We're going to talk about the market. We've got actually a big market drop this morning. Shouldn't come as any big surprise to you. I've been warning you about this for the last few weeks or so. Been urging you to stick with day trades. Be nimble, be fluid, don't have a lot of overnight exposure, and this is exactly why. The last pick that I gave you was LYFT. That was on Sunday. You can see stock hasn't really done much of anything here. We needed to break this upward sloping trend line. We needed to get below this horizontal support level. That's the alert that I have set. Stock has not been able to drop below that, so there's no action required right now. Hasn't been a good pick, hasn't been a bad pick. You've seen a lot of the picks that I've given you recently have been on the short side. I want to have you prepared in the event that we do get a market drop. So let's take a look at what the market's doing today, and you can see this was the close from yesterday, and we have about a 50-point S&P 500 drop. Let's take a look at that D1 chart, and let's take a look at the warning signs that told us that we should be keeping our trades to a minimum as far as swing trades. Day trade all you want. Day trade both sides. In fact, on a day trading basis, I've been seeing really good opportunities on both sides of the market. And the key was not to get locked in to one side or the other because we see these big moves. One day you get this nice big rally. This is a bullish trend day. Fantastic. Gap up to a new all-time high. Warning sign, gap reversal. Now we get a really good opportunity on the short side. Hey, we find support and we bounce along it, and now we're getting a good opportunity on the long side. Look at the day trading opportunities. They're phenomenal. Lots of volatility, and there's good reason for that. Buyers and sellers are in equilibrium. The two sides are battling it out. We had a new all-time high yesterday. So yesterday we had opportunities, pretty choppy trading yesterday, but you can see the volatility. There's lots of opportunities for us intraday. There is no reason for us to be overextended on the long side here. You hear me compare trading to race car driving? The market was coming into a turn. So we needed to take our foot off of the gas. And you can see that from these tiny, tiny little bodied candles. Lots of wicks, lots of tails, green, red, mixed candles in here, very light volume. So there hasn't been a lot of buying conviction by asset managers. If they were super aggressive and super interested in being long this market, we would have seen stacked long green candles on heavy volume. Very unusual at the top of a trading range when you're making a new all-time high. We also had a little bit of a news vacuum going on. There really wasn't a lot of news to drive the price action. And so the trend that's in place was a very strong uptrend, and that's typical in a news vacuum. You're going to get this drift, drift, drift higher on very light volume. So that's one of the warning signs, is that we start seeing these tiny bodied candles on light volume. We also have this long-term upward sloping trend line here. That's a major support level around that 540 level. Also, the 50-day moving average comes into play there. We have some horizontal support here. Before we get there, we've got AVWAP-Q, so that's another support level to be watching. AVWAP-Q is just below the open of this long red candle here, and that low is 555.83. That is our first support level that we need to be watching. So do we rush out and start getting short on a longer term basis here? No, we don't. This is a bull market. Bull markets die hard. We need technical confirmation that the selling pressure is heavy and that the market is going to roll over. We do not pick market tops. That is a great way to blow up your trading account. New all-time high. It's too rich. I think I'll short here. Oops, oops, oops. You're going to get crushed on the way up. You need to wait for these dips. This is a really nice dip. We were waiting for this dip. We were, again, coming into a turn. Long red candle, bearish engulfing candle off of a new all-time high. Warning, warning. We were already on the sidelines in here. We were waiting for the dip. We wanted to gauge the depth and duration of the dip, but our mindset was always buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Why? Because of the strength that we had seen all along in here. So we knew that this dip was going to be relatively brief and shallow. We were waiting for it. We were in cash, watching it come in, watching these candles. Are they mixed? Are they overlapping? Yes, they were overlapping. Support above the 100-day moving average. All right, now we can start entering some starter long positions. Dip, higher, low, double bottom. Awesome. On confirmation, right here, AVWAP-Q, we can add. Nice. Now we're going to see what happens when we break out and test the all-time high. If we back off of the all-time high and we make a lower high double top with a long red candle, all right, I got to take my gains on my long positions in here, and now I have to start shifting my mentality and looking for possible shorts. But not until then. So what happened? We broke out to another all-time high. Okay, good. Do I have to add right here? It was a marginal new high. Here's a little bit of a dip. We find support. Okay, in here I can get high because now I have confirmation of that breakout. And so you would still favor the long side. Now we're starting to kind of compress in here. We're floating higher. Take gains on your swing trades. Go to the sidelines. So let's zoom in and see what the market's doing intraday. All of this can be verified. I posted my pre-open market comments this morning. And I should probably put those comments up just so that you can see that I'm not full of a bunch of BS. There are my pre-open market comments. What is the market going to do today? Moves of this magnitude tend to stick. They tend to be legitimate, okay? We might see an initial bounce, but that would be a gift. If it's wimpy with mixed overlapping candles, a good short will set up. We've got a 20% chance of that happening. Okay, the only thing that we would need to be careful of is stacked long green candles with very little overlap. And that only had a 10% chance of materializing in my 30 years of experience. Those are the odds that I placed on it. Okay, so this is not a formula somewhere based on the price action I've seen in the last few weeks, based on the price action I'm seeing right now. Very low probability of that happening. And it would be a gift if we got any kind of bounce. And then I get into a gradual drift lower. I get into stacked red candles, which I felt had a 30% chance of happening. And the 40% chance of happening would be very mixed overlapping candles. So there's your initial bounce. You can see lots of retracement, lots of overlap, green candles, red candles. Now we have a reversal off of this high into the gap. We barely got into the gap. All right, this is where you would start looking at a potential short right in here as this moves lower. Here you definitely could have shorted because you had confirmation that the open from this long green candle had failed. So now that I've taken time to explain that, what do I do with that information? Am I going to take a short on the S&P 500? I could. I think QQQ and NQ would probably be a better vehicle because look at that steady selling pressure. Never had a bounce, weak relative to the market, bearish cross, okay? I got a lot of things working for me on an NQ short, and I certainly could take an NQ short in here. So I'm going to be watching and waiting to see if we get a little bit of a bounce in here. I don't like chasing on something like this, so I would tend to do very small size initially. And I need to mentally be prepared that we are going to bounce in here. So I need to have a wide stop and trade relatively small size. As I get confirmation of that decline, and I'm going to set up a short here, and I'm going to trade NQ, and I'm only going to do one contract. So I'm not going to trade big size in here. I'm just going to put a starter position out there. Again, ideally, I'd be finding stocks with really good relative weakness. That would be my focus. I'm going to have much more staying power in that type of position, but I haven't really had time to go through and run all my searches and find the trades that I would like to do because I've been ready to do this live recording. So I'm going to be looking for an opportunity somewhere in here to short any kind of a little bounce in here on NQ. So we're going to continue to go in and take a look at the market. So I'd urged you, please be in cash. Keep your swing trades to a minimum. But here's what's going on, and here's what you're going to hear. And QQQ, you can see this breach of AVWAP-Q. That's significant. Okay, we took out that low with ease. That's significant. This was the previous resistance level. We broke out. Now we have a failed breakout. That is going to prompt some selling on the back side here. So this is a nasty little breakdown. And I've got a tiny little bounce forming here. So am I afraid of a bounce? No, we've seen some decent market selling in here. So I'm going to put a short on, and my short is at 21.23. So am I going to panic if I get a long green candle up here and a long green candle up here? No, I'm not. I'm expecting some retracement. If I get that type of price action, and if I start to see resistance at VWAP, I might even add to the position. Okay, so no, I'm not panicking. All it's going to do is provide me with a better entry point. And right now, I am suspecting that we're going to see some follow-through selling here. Why? Well, you've got a lot of bullish speculators who have been loaded up in here, and they are going to get flushed out. You've also got some profit taking that's taking place. And we know that the rally has not been that strong because the volume has been very, very light. This rally has been led by a handful of stocks. The 7 mega cap tech stocks have been leading the charge higher. Now we are recently starting to see some rotation into laggards. Well, what has been lagging? IWM, the Russell 2000, has been lagging. And so that has started to get some love over the course of the last few days. And there you can see IWM is still strong. But look what was happening a week ago. Nada, nothing. Small cap stocks were not going anywhere. Flat as a pancake. So when the laggards start to catch a bid, that's when you know you're getting pretty close to the market having at least a temporary top. And it's not just IWM. I've looked at lots of stocks that have recently been selling off. The restaurant stocks have been super weak. You've had weakness in some of the tech names way before this market rally. Airlines had been weak. Airlines were starting to catch a bid. So let me put up AAL. and that'll just be an example. You can see how AAL, this has been a nasty little downtrend for an airline stock. When these stocks, these dogs as I like to call them, start barking, meaning they're starting to get some love, that's pretty typical when the market starts reaching for an all-time high. And so in here, you start to see that rotation. Well, it's the last leg of the rally because finally these dogs, these laggards are starting to catch a little bit of a bid. So right now I've got a short position on QQQ. We're going to take a look and see what else we might possibly add. And I wouldn't even mind adding to the NQ position, but right now I'm just looking at the market, trying to recapture this long red candle. So what scenario is currently playing out? The scenario that's playing out is that we got this little meager bounce, and now we've got mixed overlapping candles with some follow-through selling. I believe that this is the most likely scenario to play out today. Why? And how is this day going to unfold? Well, we're going to see mixed overlapping candles on the way down because bull markets die hard. And this has been a very, very strong market, and asset managers have been inclined to buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. That's the mentality. So on a big drop like that, we're going to see a tendency to want to buy this dip. So that's why the stubborn price action on the way down. Now, eventually, what will happen is that these buyers will give up and they'll start to throw in the towel. So you'll chop, 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 drift, drift, drip, really choppy type of price action. And eventually, the market will find support. You'll get a nice little decent bounce. Any bounces in here as we drift lower will present good shorting opportunities. Toward the end of the day, if this selling pressure is persistent, then what you'll have is a late day market decline. So we're just looking for opportunities on these bounces to try some shorts, but what we don't want to see is we don't want to see a higher low. So we want to make sure that as the market comes down, we get these little bit of these bounces, but then we quickly take out the low and then we keep moving lower. What we also don't want to see in particular is a big washout, like a big sell-off, and then a bounce, and then a retest of that low, but we make a higher low double bottom. Those are the only things that would really spook me, all right? And I don't see that coming right now. I just think that there's going to be some more downside. I think that tech is the place that you want to be short. So let's take a look at what QQQ is doing while S&P is very choppy like this. And we have started to see a little bit better price action in the S&P 500 than we've seen in QQQ. So you can see S&P has been floating higher, and QQQ has actually been weak relative to the S&P 500. Okay, long red candle, bearish engulfing candle on a D1 basis, can't recover. Now we take out that low in AVWABQ. So we'll keep an eye on what QQQ is doing, because to me that's more interesting than what the S&P 500 is doing. We've got an S&P 500 drop. We have relative weakness in tech stocks. That's where we should be favoring the short side. So there's been some overnight news, but very minor. Did overseas markets tank last night? No, they didn't. They were down marginally, but nothing horrific. There really wasn't any big news overnight. We had ASML, which is a semiconductor equipment manufacturer in Europe. They reported weaker than expected guidance. So we can take a look at ASML, and we are in earnings season. So yes, earnings are going to impact the market. And there you can see the big gap down. Stock is below AVWAB-E, and it is below the 100-day moving average and the 50-day moving average. Let's take a look at that stock. And you can see it's trying to bounce in here. What would I do with this information? This is in all likelihood going to be a good short. Down a little bit of money on my NQ, nothing bad, about $300 or so. So I'm going to set some alerts on this stock, just an end of day. So if it makes a new low of the day, I'll know. Am I going to short it on this new low of the day? I could, but more importantly, if this is the source of the weakness, then I'm going to be aware that it is making a new low for the day. So more than anything, it's just confirmation. It's just awareness. There's been some talk that, the U.S. is going to start charging Taiwan for protection, and that's going to be bad for semiconductor stocks. And these are the analysts out there talking. So the one thing that I want to make absolutely clear is that these analysts, they don't know jack squat, okay? They are going to justify every little wiggle and jiggle. And news like that is not why the market is selling off, okay? It's selling off because the market is overextended, valuations are relatively high, the volume on the way up has been very light, and we've got earnings season coming up. That means that surprise favors the downside. Good news is priced in. It is going to take unbelievable earnings announcements from the mega cap tech companies to fuel the next leg of the rally higher. That's where all of the strength has come from to this point. And so what are some asset managers doing? Well, there are those asset managers who have to allocate a certain percentage of their portfolio to equities. So what are they doing? They're taking profits on that which has run up dramatically, and they're rotating that money into stocks that have been lagging, which is the Russell 2000. And that's why you're seeing that rotation right now. So let's take a look and see what we've got. And by the way, nobody ever complains when the market is doing this and going up, 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 up. They don't question why the market is going up. They just buy, 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 like the market never goes down. And then when you get a sell-off like this, they're absolutely shocked. They're dumbfounded. Why is the market so weak? Geez, it's been up 30% so far for the year. You don't ask why the market's up 30%. You only care when it's down 2% overnight. So keep your perspective. Know which scenarios are most likely to play out. So you game plan everything, just like I did today. I game plan for what if we get a decent looking bounce? What might that possibly look like in terms of the candles? How likely is it to happen? What if we get a drift lower? What if we get a sharp sell-off? Each one of these scenarios, I have to try and assess what the probability of that outcome is. And then early on, I focus on the most likely outcome and the one that's going to happen the earliest in the day, because then I can start searching for some stocks that are really weak. So let's take a look and see what we've got going on here. One of the temptations, and as I start to look, I'm just looking at a random search, relatively weak 30, okay? So Tesla, I saw a bunch of people in the chat room going, oh, there's a breach, D1 trendline breach. By the way, ooh, okay, Kava. Yeah, I like that one. Let's short some shares. How about that? All right, let's trade this. And let's just short 500 shares. I like that short. I'm not going to be picky on the, ooh, this got a pretty wide bid-ask spread though. We got to be trying to middle this. So I'm only going to do a few hundred shares, but we'll put it out there and we'll see if, we did get filled at 82.70. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I like the D1 breakdown, okay? I like that breakdown. Let's take a look at that. Then I'm going to take a look at Tesla very quickly. I like that breakdown right there. This stock has got plenty of room to go before it gets to the 100-day moving average. given the wide bid-ask spread on the stock, I'm not going to be trading options on this. The stock had a 50-cent wide bid-ask spread. For crying out loud, what do you think the options are going to look like? They're going to be even wider than that. I can't get in and out of a stock like that. And by the way, I only trade options because options are limited risk. Forget all that. Trade the underlying stock. If you limit yourself to only day trading options, you're going to restrict your universe of stocks and you're going to miss really great trading patterns like this. When I day trade, I like to trade the stock. I don't need to trade the options. The exception would be if I've got something astronomical like a $500 or a $700 stock. Okay, then I'm going to be inclined to trade options because I can do a put debit spread. The market's rallying, I can do a call debit spread, but I can at least spread some of that expense off. So let's take a look at some of the other stocks, and Tesla was one that I wanted to highlight because in the early going, you're going to have traders who are conditioned to buy the bounce. So they see long green candle, long green candle. We're going to go into this bounce. We're going to go into the gap. Oh my God, what's strong? What looks good? That's what I saw earlier today in the chat room. Tesla looks so strong. You know that we're not even remotely considering buying anything yet. Okay, we don't have confirmation of support. This is a big gap down. This needs to be respected. Buyers are not just going to come in and gobble this up. If they would have, we would have had those stacked long green candles consecutively, and a move like that is much more likely to happen off of a long-term low as opposed to a new all-time high, which we had here. Pete, you're going so fast. What the hell do you mean? I don't get it. Your chance of having a gap reversal of that nature where you get stacked long green candles is much more likely to happen right here after a big drop. And you can see that was the close. This was the open. Okay, so we gapped down overnight. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. This off the 200-day moving average, this, after support like that, this is where you might expect to see some stacked long green candles in a bullish trend day and a gap reversal. Not up here. Okay? It's all about probability. What is my probability? So in here, we're not expecting stacked long green candles. That's why I only gave it a 10% chance. So if the market finds support, it's going to take time. You're going to see a drop, a base, maybe a higher low. It's going to take a couple of hours for this type of support to form. You do not need to jump in. But that's not what other traders do. I'm looking for relative strength, and Tesla's got relative strength, and I think the market could bounce and fill some of this gap, so I'm going to buy some Tesla. Oh, look at that, another long green candle. Oh my gosh, it's above the prior day's high on good volume. Oops. Oops. Uh-oh. I know I'm lecturing you, but I know how you think. I used to think like that. I've made these mistakes. I know better now. I'm trying to teach you how you should be setting up your trading. So just because a stock looks strong initially when the market is selling off does not mean that it's got the relative strength that you need to fuel a rally. What's more is Tesla is a tech stock. So it's in a weak sector. I do like this breakout. And I think that a bullish flag is setting up, but it's got earnings coming out on 7/23, so next week. There's no reason for me to touch this stock right now. Look at the volatility. Stacked green candles, beautiful. Blam! That is a gigantic bearish reversal, bearish engulfing candle off of the high. Warning, warning, warning. Long wick, long tail, long wick. This stock is all over the damn place. This is not something you need to be trading right now because it is in a flux. You cannot predict from 1 minute to the next what in the heck it's going to be doing. So, do not come in when the odds favor a decline and buy stocks that show early relative strength. That is nothing more than a head fake. What you need to be watching for, and by the same token, you don't need to be watching for stocks that are doing the deep dive either. Okay, so this stock comes in, CAVA, and it's like not making a big gap down or anything, and it's kind of waffling around, and now you get into some selling pressure in here. Okay, the stock is starting to weaken and it's taken out the previous day's low. It's taken out multiple day low. The D1 looks pretty good. Okay, yeah, I can short this in here and have pretty decent staying power and a pretty high level of confidence, but I'm not chasing something where the bottom has dropped out. In those instances, you need to be much more cautious because oftentimes that type of big decline is going to find support. And when the stock bounces, it means that you're going to have a better entry level than just simply chasing it on that big drop, just like ASML. Okay, so what do I do with ASML? Number one, it's a very expensive stock, so I'm not inclined to trade it, but I right click, I create an alert. I'd like to see it go relatively strong and then relatively weak. Okay, now our servers know that currently it's relatively weak, and they know that it has to go relatively strong and then relatively weak. So I want it weak versus SPY, and I add that so that when I get this bounce and when it goes relatively strong and relatively weak, I get the alert and then I'm able to evaluate how big was the bounce. How strong was the bounce? Oh, the bounce was pretty wimpy. It had mixed overlapping candles. It hit resistance, the market bounced, but the stock was not able to advance. So this looks like an entry point for a decent short. That's the decision-making process that you go through. When you set alerts, you don't have any risk exposure. You don't have any emotional involvement in it. It's not tying up any of your margin, not tying up any of your capital. You can evaluate this bounce objectively instead of, oh my God, this looks like a great short, stacked red candles short. Oops. Gee, I wish I would have waited on that one. So, before we even go any further, I'm going to be looking at some charts. What am I looking for? First of all, I'm going to be watching the S&P 500. That's what I like to track, okay? So I want to see VWAP preserved. If we get above VWAP, I want to see the open of this long red candle preserved. And I'm looking for us to chew away at this long red candle and to drift lower and to test the low of the day. After a drop like that, the likelihood that we test that low of the day is fairly high. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be looking for right now as far as the market is concerned. I can set some alerts in here so I can come in and I can set an end of day alert right there. That'll put me at VWAP. By the way, I can set these at an angle or I can set them horizontally by double clicking. End of day just simply means that this alert is going to expire today. GTC would mean that this alert is going to be around until it's triggered. I'm going to click here. I'm just going to set some alerts so we get some alerts along the way while I'm explaining things. Some of you might be working full time, but while I'm explaining things to you and I can't monitor the market, I'll at least have some alerts set so that I get the alert and I know that there's something going on in the market. I always like to leave this chart tucked behind my primary chart where I'm doing my analysis. So let's take a look now. And before I get started, the type of pattern that I'm going to be looking for a short is I want to see a breakdown on a D1 basis. I'm not looking for anything that's really exaggerated or huge move lower. I'm also looking for a stock that has been drifting lower. It didn't have a huge gap down, but it's just kind of ticking lower. So that's going to be the first thing I'm looking for. And when I run my searches, I'm going to be looking for lots of red across the board. I'm going to right click on this column layout and I'm going to load a template that I have. And I'm going to use this template. And again, I'm looking for red across the board, just looking for really good weakness. And I'm going to start with D1 charts. We're going to flip through them. These are our automated trend lines. You can see we've got a nice low plus trend line breach. We have a breach of the 100-day moving average. Okay, we've got a little bit of support here lower, but nothing to worry about. Low minus trend lines I don't worry about as much. SPY breached below that trend line. Okay, it just gave me a little reminder, that's all. So I'm going to continue to look. This is a nice little breakdown on Meta. You can see how it's been relatively weak for a while. Breaks the 100-day, breaks the 50-day, breaks this trend line here. Now we're below a VWAP-E. Okay, let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. It's just kind of drifting lower. That's okay. I don't mind that. So I'm going to set an alert. Let's set it right there. Don't need to be on the low of the day. Let's see if we can pick it up a little bit early. And I'm going to just click through some of my favorite bearish searches. Dell. Dell is a stock that I highlighted on Sunday. Actually, I highlighted this a couple weeks ago. We had an upward sloping trend line that came in right like this. It has been breached, and now we are below the 100-day moving average. Are we going to bounce off the 100-day moving average? I don't know yet. So we'll have to see. QQQ, I'm down about $500 on that right now. Not worried about it. Market's kind of doing what I expected. So we'll continue to take a look for an opportunity to get short. Dell, choppy little move, similar to what we're seeing in the market. What I would prefer is tick, 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 lower. Little red candles. Just couldn't even bounce early in the day. This might still be a good short because I know that Dell is below that 100-day moving average and it's broken that upward sloping trend line. So I like it. I think it looks good. It's got some decent volume in here. So not a bad looking short. Let's take a look. Actually, I want to add a study in here. I have the study. Option implied volatilities are at 54. That would make me inclined to sell an out of the money bearish call spread, or if I do decide to buy puts, then I'm going to need to put on a put debit spread because I can offset some of that higher option implied volatility. Let's take a look at VXX very quickly here and see what it's doing. Yes, it's spiking. Is it continuing to move higher though? Yes, it is. Okay, so this is a sign that asset managers are out there buying calls on VIX, or they're buying VIX outright because they see this as relatively cheap insurance. It's been super, super inexpensive. Option premiums have been very inexpensive. That has prevented us from selling a lot of out-of-the-money bullish put spreads right now because the premiums simply aren't there. The risk-reward profile on that type of trading has been poor, and that's why we've been favoring going to cash right now and waiting to see what happens on this market drop. So, not particularly great. There goes lift. All right, now we're starting to get some weakness in this stock. That was the one that I highlighted on Sunday. That doesn't look too bad for a short. Tiny compressed little candles, no real reason to short initially here. You can see the stock is pretty choppy in here, but yes, I would be watching this and I'd be more interested if we could take out that low right there. Then I'd be a little bit more interested in it. Okay, so we set an alert. We're setting alerts. Choppy market conditions, big drop. We're not rushing to judgment. And oftentimes you'll see traders just plowing into a trade early in the day and they're all excited. Oh my God. Take a deep breath. There are going to be times when your trade might not set up for an hour or two, and then everything lines up and your odds of success favor you. So be patient and wait for those opportunities. I'm going to be doing this for another 20-25 minutes. I hope to have a good short for you. We'll see what's setting up. So, CELH, take a look at that. That's a nice little breakdown to a new low. That is a long red candle, decent volume coming in here. That's not a bad looking short. Just gonna flip some charts, tell you what I like, what I don't like. And I'm gonna find that bearish trade. All right, so I didn't see anything too compelling there. CRWD, that's a good little breakdown, but we have horizontal was resistance, now support. We also have the 50-day moving average. So when we're approaching these major moving averages, we want a breakdown. We don't want to be sitting at it. We want to be below it with a long red candle on heavy volume. That confirms that that drop is legitimate. WDC, okay. Kind of a choppy stock, lots of mixed candles, upward trend, and now we've cracked down below that with 50-day moving average violated, AVWAP-E violated. Let's see if we've got some decent selling pressure here. So you've got nice round of selling, little bounce, and now we're trying to take out the low of the day. Now what I'd be watching for, and I do like this short, you can see decent volume in here. Now what I would like to see is I'd like to see the market try and rally up here, but not have anything in the underlying stock, no bounce. It just stays down on that low, or even makes a new low of the day when the S&P 500 is popping up a little bit. So that's what I'll be looking for. Still looking for the stock that I want to trade, ASML. There you're getting your little bit of a bounce. Didn't quite make it into positive territory as far as relative strength. Oh, this is the kind of action that I like to see. New low of the day, tick, 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 lower, while the market is kind of flatlining in here. So let's take a look at that D1. Upward sloping trend line drawn visually here. Breakdown, EMA 8, below all the major moving averages. Rejection from AVWAP-E, didn't even get close to the 100-day. Lots of room down to the 200-day moving average. All right, I like this type of price action. So what am I going to do with this? Now I need an alert that's a little more sensitive, because I don't know that this stock is going to get back to where it has relative strength and then relative weakness. So I'm going to put up an HA candle, and I'm going to see if we get a little HA reversal in here. That's a relatively safe indicator. So I'm going to create an alert. I'm going to go in. I'm going to be looking for an HA reversal. Right in here. And I'm going to be looking for a bearish reversal. That means that we have to have a bullish reversal and then a bearish reversal, because right now it's on a bearish. The servers are going to know that. And so let's see if we get that little bounce in VKTX. Yes, I would definitely short this stock. Well, what if we don't get the HA reversal and it makes a new low of the day? What would you do then? I think you got to be a little, there's ASML, weak versus the S&P 500. So we went here and now we're starting to dip back down again. So I've got that alert right now. I'm going to, and it's an expensive stock. I don't think I'm going to be shorting that. I don't want to trade any options on it right now. And take a look at QQQ. I'm down about 800 bucks. So I'm not getting the follow through on NQ that I wanted to. So I'm going to set another alert here because I might have an opportunity to add to this position. I'm just going to set an upward sloping trend line right here. Okay. If NQ continues to rally, this will continue to move higher and I'll see that trend line breached. What would I not want to see on NQ right now? I don't want to spend a lot of time above VWAP. So I'm going to set another alert. This will be horizontal, end of day. Double click there. All right, I don't really want to get above that line. I'd like to preserve that open from that long red candle. And ASML is drifting lower. So just to show you, okay, that this could be a good trade, I'm going to do a small trade. All right, I'm going to short it. And I'm only going to short 10 little shares. So I'm not going to do anything big. And I'm going to try and middle this. So and I'm not overly selective. So that trade's open. We'll see if we get filled on that. But yes, ASML around that 955.27 is where I have that sell order. And I don't know that I'm going to be, oh, I am filled on it. Okay, so I'm short ASML. Again, I'm not able to watch all this stuff. I'm just trying to do some smaller trades. QQQ has breached that upward sloping trend line. Okay, it's starting to come in. Does this mean that I want to add to the position? Possibly. Starting to see some mixed candles in here. That tells me that there is buying above this low right here. That's on SPY. QQQ. Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of a weakness. Preserved half of that long red candle. You can see the tails up there. So I'm okay with that also. Do I want to put another short on NQ? That is the question right now. What would I like to see? Well, I'd like to see this candle, which is 1 minute from finishing, close on its low. And I'm going to load up another NQ contract, and I'm going to add to it if I like what I see. I am expecting the low of the day to be challenged, okay? Okay, 2124. That is my average price. So we'll see. And so right now I've got Meta on the low of the day right here. That was an alert that was just set. So yes, Meta is starting to conform. D1 down through AVWAP-E, lots of room to run. Yep. So let's take a look at Meta. Let's see what we've got here. Earnings toward the end of the month. So again, I'm just going to be doing small size. There's nothing that's going to make or break me given what I'm showing you right now. And I've got fairly good option liquidity. I'd like to go in the money. I don't want to pay a lot in time premium here, and I'm going past the earnings announcement date. And the 485s are in by $15. So they're going to move okay. I could do a bearish put spread here. Let's see where that's priced. July 19th, which would be expiration in 2 days. And if I look at the 70, 65, that's currently trading 2 by 230. Probably could go 210-ish in there, but I'd need to see some follow through selling here. This is kind of just a choppy test drifting lower with Meta on its low. So I'm going to throw a low ball bid out there, and we'll do a couple of contracts. Again, nothing that's going to hurt me too badly, and I'd like to try and get in around $2.10. The cheaper I can get this, the greater the chance of it expanding, okay? The greater the chance that it starts to move my way. And so we'll put that out there. We'll see if we can get filled on that. It's not a bad looking chart, so we'll revisit that and we'll see what's going on with it. So I've got a number of smaller positions on right now. My NQ trade is starting to make some money, and I'm going to put up my 1OP signal that I've been using a lot lately. You can see there's a sell signal there, and there's a sell signal there. So I have a sell signal on a 15-minute basis, and I have a sell signal on a 5-minute basis. So if I see a buy signal along the way, I need that buy signal confirmed, meaning that there would be a close. There's a buy signal, so I take the high from that bar, and I need a close above the high from that bar, and that would confirm it. If I see this, I'm going to exit the trade. It's just like that. It's really not that difficult. So in here, you've got a buy signal. There's your high. Did we close above it? No, 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 no. So I ignore that buy signal and I stick with that sell signal until I have a buy signal that is confirmed. Okie dokie. So let's take a look and see what else we've got cooking here. D-Dog. What's that look like? That is a choppy, steamy mess. I just do not trade anything that looks like that. I do like this little guy right in here. I like this. This stock looks to me like it's going to be a decent short VKTX. I got to make sure I've got another alert set here on the low of the day. And so when you get a bearish trend day, LYFT, all right, remember how I had that alert set right there? That's the beauty of alerts, okay? That's a significant little breakdown. Is it getting a little overextended in here? Well, overextended would mean yes, if I felt that the market had a good chance to bounce. I'm about $600 right now, $700 on my NQ short. That's nice. We'll take a look at the other positions too. Actually, let me do that, and I'm going to do it off screen so that I don't disclose my account number. But anyway, right now I got a $35 gain on ASML, and I got a $50 loss on CAVA, so nothing too dramatic going on there right now. Take a look, see what else we've got on the short side. I might take a look in the chat room to see what else is being shorted. Snap. That's a nasty little breakdown. You've got some support right here. You had an upward sloping trend line here. It's been largely in a compression. Really steady decline in here. I like that. So when the market was chopping around, you had this stock in a nice steady decline. So I like that. It's a pretty choppy stock though, but this is steady price action. So yeah, I would keep an eye on that one. That could be something to look at. And let's go into see if there's anything else. We can run some custom searches as well. I'm going to do that right now. And then we're going to conclude the presentation. And I'll set you up with some information too on the long side. Shop. Okay, what's up with shop? We're in the gap. Okay, this is a nice gap up yesterday. Let's take a look at that D1 chart. And you can see it tried to get through this resistance level. That was horizontal resistance. It tested the 100-day and 200-day moving average yesterday. Today, gap reversal. Oh yeah, I would short that stock with the notion that that gap is likely to fill, and it's just shown me that there's a pretty big rejection off of that high. Let's take a look at the options, and let's see what we got cooking here. Could I go into weekly option expiration? I could, but I'd rather go a little bit further out. So I'm going to check one thing very quickly. I need to see what that earnings release date is, 8/7. So I've still got a little bit of time. I want to span that earnings announcement date. So if I'm going to be short right now, I don't want to be too exposed to time premium decay. And one way for me to avoid that is to go beyond the earnings date, because those options are going to hold their option implied volatility very nicely. 725 is the ask. I think I can get in at 720, and if not, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, we'll do a couple contracts of that. See if we can get filled on that. And so we're testing the low of the day right here, and we're finding some support on QQQ. Let's see what SPY is doing. And then I'm going to run a custom search. We'll see if we can pick up on something else. You can see, gee, what's happening? I would call this a gradual drift lower with mixed overlapping candles. Huh. That's the scenario I assigned the highest probability to. And this is going to be likely throughout the course of the day. Eventually, if we get a little overheated, some long red candles, you're going to see a bounce. On that bounce, you want to wait for the bounce to be exhausted. That'll be a great chance for you to reload on your shorts, meaning you took profits on that long red candle and new low of the day, and you decided to wait for a bounce and you reloaded. If you had a particularly weak stock that was ticking lower, then you have to make a decision. Can I weather any market bounce? Is the stock weak enough to weather any market bounce? If the answer is yes, then you hang on to the position. When you get the market bounce, if the stock is continuing to tick lower, you add to the position, knowing that you're about to get a market tailwind that's going to help that position out. That's how you trade. But yes, so I would like to see not a little dink, 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 marginal new low. I'd like to see a nice, decent low in here. Okay, if I start making marginal, tiny little new lows, what you get is you get a curve that's going to kind of flatten out and kind of bottom out. Take a look at Meta. Yeah, continuing to tick lower. Okay, that's good. And I don't know if I got filled. Ah, nuts. I never got filled on that shop. So I'd like to take a look and see where shop is currently trading. On those AUG 70 puts. They're offered at 730. Do I chase it here? Testing the low of the day. Take a look at shop very quickly. Do I need to reach? Not really. I'll just wait. If I get it at 720, I'll get it. And if I don't, I'll be looking for any kind of little tiny bounce should be able to fill me on that. But if I don't get filled, it's okay. I'll just cancel it in about 20 minutes or so if the stock continues to move lower. and I won't worry about it. I'll just keep looking. I'll find a better trade. There might be an instance where if it's really looking weak, maybe a step up a little bit to it. So, and right now there's 725, 730. I mean, for a nickel, it's not going to cost me a lot to really step up on that. I'm still going to wait on it. And I'm going to run a custom search, and then we're going to call it a session. Okay, now lift is below this trend line. All right, lift is looking pretty dang weak in here. I'm not seeing much lift in lift. This is just kind of a steady decline, and we've got a new low right in here, so it's through horizontal support. Yes, I could easily short some shares of lift in here. I'm not going to. I'm going to take a look at other stocks right now. It's a $12 stock. I'd rather run some searches to show you what I'm looking for instead of kind of hawking this. So what I'm going to be looking for, visualize what do you want to see in a stock. Well, obviously I'd like to see some relative weakness. All right, so I want to see weakness relative to the market. If I click twice, I get bearish there. I'd like to see a bearish 1OP signal across these recent time frames. Also be nice to have it on a bearish signal longer term. Because a lot of stocks are just starting to roll over, I'm going to go, I could go with H1. I've got enough here. This is enough. I don't want to be too restrictive initially. Relative volume. I'd like to see relative volume 120% above what it's been recently. Show me some good option liquidity. Let's filter out stocks that are really, really cheap. Let's get at least above $20 or so. If you like to trade cheap stocks, you could have this set so that you're only finding cheap stocks. Obviously, we want to be below the prior day's low. And I think this is going to give us some pretty good candidates. Look at that. Did I have 50 stocks? No. Ooh, VKTX is one of them. So, weak relative to the market on a 1OP bearish signal, below the prior day's low, good option rating, high relative volume, greater than $20. All right, I got everything that I need. So let's take a look at some of these and see if we've got something interesting. Tick, tick, tick lower. I like that. ACWI. Don't know what the company is. Don't really care. Below EMA 8. Nice, consistent selling pressure. Probably decent stock. CCJ. Oh, yeah. Below the 100-day moving average. Nice drop right in here on big volume. Yes, I like that. So I could just do that. I could just sell using the screen here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use my regular trading screen so you can see it. And CCJ, I don't need to do a lot of shares in here. I'm only a couple hundred because after I'm done here, I will take a look. And I'd like to, do I need to short right here after a drop like that? Well, what's this? The open there is 48.30, okay? So, do I need to short right now on the low? Is the news that bad? No. So I'm going to short this, and I'll short a couple hundred shares. And we're going to put price limit out there of, well, let's go 48.20. Is there anything scientific about this? No. I'm just looking at this long red candle and these three stacked long red candles, and at some point there's going to be a little retracement. Well, as we retrace, good, it'll provide me with a nice entry point on a short. I'll review my open orders and I'll decide if I need to step up. ELF, take a look at that. Testing these major trend lines. So no, that's support. Okay, I don't need to be shorting when we're testing support. I need to blow through it. Yes, we're through the 50, we're through the 100 day. Nice. Okay, stock's getting a little bounce in here. Good. Okay, I could set a couple different kinds of alerts. One like that, and one like that. Up $700 on my NQ futures. FIVE. Whoosh. Big drop. Yeah, that is nasty. So, yes, this is probably going to be a good short. Uber. If I've got Lyft, Lyft looks better than Uber. Okay, Uber's in the S&P 500, so there are going to be programs in and out supporting the stock based on what the market's doing. Lyft doesn't have that interference, and that's why it is actually weaker. And you can see this breakdown of multiple support levels here on URNM. Obviously, uranium ETF, guess what? Instead of trading URNM, why don't I just trade CCJ? That is a uranium producer. So this is how we find stocks. Know what you're looking for. And yes, I could obviously go in and I could find some bullish trades. But my point earlier today was this is a big gap down. We're going to see a stubborn move lower, in all likelihood, a drift lower. Favor the short side. If you see any big blow off lows, take gains into those selling climaxes and watch for signs of support. When you get that bounce later today, that'll be a good opportunity to re-enter short positions. And if you didn't have any shorts on here and you only wanted to day trade, it's okay. Let the market come in, wait for that bounce. When you get that failed bounce, that's when you're going to want to go in and take your initial day trading shorts for the day with the expectation that, number one, we're going to test that low of the day again at some point. Okay, so at very least, you have profit potential down to that low of the day. There's a very good chance that this will be a bearish trend day, and in that instance, we'll make a new low of the day and we'll continue lower, and you'll be able to ride that trade and make money. So if I look at the overall market, what's it telling me? What should I do? Oh my God, I should be shorting everything in here. No, this is just one bad day. So now what we'd be watching for is any kind of follow through selling over the course of the next couple days. Know that your mega cap tech companies are on deck. Pete, does that mean that you think that mega cap tech earnings are going to be good and that the market's going to bounce and rally and make a new all-time high? Should I be looking to buy them right here, right now? Oh my God. No. What it means to me is that these stocks are very, very, very vulnerable to profit taking. They're very rich right now, okay? That news is going to have to be stupendous, spectacular to see a new all-time high off of those mega cap tech stocks. But what this means to me is that short sellers are nervous, okay? This is a strong market rally. The buyers are not just going to roll over and play dead. Shorts are going to be nervous to short ahead of mega cap tech earnings when those are the stocks that have been leading the damn charge higher. So that means that there's likely to be a little round of profit taking in here on the mega cap tech stocks. They're going to find support in here. Don't be tempted to buy that support. Let them do what they're going to do. Wait for those earnings announcements. See what those reactions are. And once you have that reaction, then you'll know. My suspicion is that we're going to drift lower. We'll get mega cap tech earnings released and we'll make a higher low double top. And then if we start cracking below AVWAP-Q, we start taking out upward sloping trend lines, we get follow through selling, then we have a chance to try some shorts. August is a very weak month seasonally. The Fed goes into recess. There's an 80% chance priced into the bond market of a Fed rate cut in September. What do you mean there's an 80% chance of a rate cut in September? That's what the bond futures are pricing in. That's not Pete's opinion. That's what the bond market is pricing in. I don't think we're going to get a quarter point rate cut in September. The economy's been decent. Employment's been decent. Inflation is easing. The Fed is in a sweet spot. They're not compelled to do anything. So I think there's going to be a little disappointment. You get into seasonal weakness in August and September. The Fed's not easing as everybody would hope. You start to get some nervous jitters that they won't ease. You got the election coming up. That's uncertainty. Right now, I think the market's starting to price in a little bit that Trump is going to win the election, and you'll have a number of people who think Trump is good for the market or bad for the market. But what the market does start to do is it'll start paying attention to the policies that he's going to enact, and it does make people nervous. I traded during the Trump presidency, and there was a lot of volatility. So from a day trading perspective, I love that kind of price action. I've traded it before, so I know what to watch for. So could be very exciting day trading times coming ahead over the course of the next few months. Right now, keep it very light. Look for your opportunities on the short side today. Expect that we're going to have a gradual drift lower and a bounce at some point. Off of that bounce, watch for a stalled rally, and then you'll have a better re-entry point for short positions. Day trading positions. No swing trades right now. I think our window when we can decide whether or not we're going to be able to swing trade is going to come early August, first week in August, and I suspect that it might be setting up on the short side sometime in mid-August. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. What do you think the market's going to do? What do you think the market is going to do between now and September? Why don't you leave your comments? If you've got any shorts that you think are really compelling right now that look excellent to you, why don't you also post them in the comments? And please, if you like this content, click the subscribe button. It helps my YouTube channel gain views, and when I have more eyeballs on this content, I can educate more people, and that really is my goal. Again, thanks so much for watching. We will see you Sunday. I'll do another video then, and I'll have an update for you. Trade well.
Thank you for watching this YouTube video. I'm Pete Stolzers, and I'm going to keep the trade ideas coming along with lots of education. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and please turn on your notifications so that you never miss another trade. If you like the content, please give it a thumbs up. I've loaded 2 other videos that I think you're really going to enjoy. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon.